Preggo Posse Live. It's so exciting to be back tonight. We're having a good time. We talked about prodromal labor. If you guys do have some questions, don't forget to put them in there because we will go back after. If we miss it, we'll go back and we will answer them, okay? So that's important. What do you want to do next? VBAC? I knew it. How many of you guys know what a VBAC is? A vaginal birth after cesarean delivery.
So, I'm really weird about semantics. I don't know, maybe that was how I trained residency or something like that, but
weirdo.
I know, I can't help
weird.
it. So the vaginal birth after cesarean is what you're trying to attempt to do. If you really want to get fancy about it, the whole process of getting there is called a TOLAC. It's a trial of labor after cesarean because we're trying out labor. We're trying to see if we can achieve that VBAC, right?
Yes.
Right.
And thank gosh we get almost all of them.
Yes.
How'd it?
So, I mean, what is somebody's chance of a successful VBAC? There's about a 60 to 80% chance that somebody who is actively trying to do a TOLAC, a VBAC, is going to achieve. There are some folks that end up on the 60% range of things because of why they might have had their last C-section, their weight, their age, the size of the baby, all of that can factor into that.
Big time.
And then there's some that end up at the 80% side of things. And again, it goes back to age, mom's weight, the situation behind that last C-section, which definitely impacts whether you're a good candidate. So when I've got somebody in front of me that I'm doing a VBAC counseling for, I'm trying to find out, is this a safe option for mom and is it a safe option for baby? You've also got to find out if it's a safe option for your hospital and your provider because there are some guidelines that tell us when and how and who. There are some hospitals that have banned trial of labors. And so obviously if you're followed by a provider that delivers at one of those hospitals, you're not a good candidate for a trial of labor. Or should I say, that hospital is not a good option for you. That's not a good candidate.
And that is so important, you guys. You choose where you have a baby, you choose who helps you have a baby, and you need to know the culture of both.
Exactly. And you may have a provider that has done a VBAC in the past or maybe learned how to do VBACs. You might have talked to a friend of yours and they had a VBAC with your doctor, but you need to make sure that your doctor's comfortable with your plans to have a VBAC. And so those are kind of the two ancillary things that would make you a good candidate from the logistical side of things. Now, what about baby? Like, what do you think would be some baby reasons why somebody would not be able to do a trial of labor?
Oh gosh, well, first and foremost, baby's having some issues and possibly having decelerations in their heart rate.
Totally.
The possibility baby's really high north. You know, for maybe the baby's in Canada, we need the baby in Mexico. I don't know. You know, not to say Mexico's a vagina, but you know what I'm saying. Yeah, Canada, Mexico. So. But you get what I'm saying.
Right.
So it's position wise of the baby. What if the baby's a breech baby and that hospital has banned breech delivery? I know some hospitals will let there be breech delivery. That's few and far between.
Right.
So there's a couple of things like that, right? I know my friend Stuart Fishbein. Hey, Dr. Stu. You know I love you, brother.
Is he on?
He doesn't know, but he knows. He may be. But you know what? He does them. He does them at home births. If he has a very safe candidate, he makes sure his candidates are right, good candidates for home births. He will do a VBAC, and he will do breech delivery if he has to. It's just a matter of being trained. Unfortunately, it's a lost art.
Yeah.
It really is. If any of you guys are curious about that, you want to know more about breech delivery, by the way, just saying, and VBAC. Actually, my friend Elliot Berlin, hi Elliot, he made 2 movies that were amazing. One is called Trial of Labor, and it's about people trying to attempt to have their VBAC, and it follows a couple different people. And then he has another one called Heads Up. I believe it's Heads Up. It's the lost art of breech.
Interesting.
Incredible movies.
Yeah, Heads Up babies are not good candidates, traditionally speaking, for a VBAC. Because of that potential difficult delivery and because of all the issues surrounding it. So
because you have to do special things to deliver a breech.
You got to
do special,
move the
arm and this and that, and there's just a little more action going on.
And if we have to turn baby, that can put more stress on that uterine scar. So you're right. I mean, baby's position, that would make you a very poor candidate, baby's breech. If there's an issue with the placenta, let's say your placenta is low-lying, down by the cervix, I think that's included as a poor candidate
Oh,
for
for
vaginal
sure.
delivery after cesarean.
That can be very dangerous, and a lot of people don't realize that. That's why you have to be careful, because I read certain blogs and I see certain things going on, and people are they're trying to explain it to people how to check themselves at home, dilation, and how you can stay and you can do unassisted catches, but if you haven't had an ultrasound seriously, and you don't know the position of your placenta, that could be a horrible tragedy.
So a low placenta is obviously going to take you out of the running for vaginal birth, because now we're dealing with a bad placenta location. You could bleed to death.
Yeah.
You have a baby that loses all of its oxygen. Likewise, a placenta on the anterior. So when we do a C-section, the incision on the uterus is on the front. If the placenta's on the front, there's a higher chance of having a placenta accreta. Now, this may not change how
we just brought another topic in here. I love this.
We should do it next month.
Okay, let's talk more about placenta accreta next month.
We may not have an issue with baby coming out, but once baby comes out and that placenta is not coming out, there's a huge hemorrhage risk if that placenta is stuck to that uterine scar that's been disrupted from that last C-section. So you're absolutely right. Baby has to be a good candidate. Can't have any issues that would preclude a vaginal delivery. There can't be any big masses or growths. We can't be suspicious that baby's too big. We can't have a baby that is compromised in any way, because labor already compromises babies.
Yes, and it becomes a stronger trial of labor.
Right. So there's baby reasons, and then there's mom reasons. And I think one of the big ones, unfortunately, that takes people out of the running is the number of C-sections. So this is kind of a gray area depending on the circumcision. Many doctors will have a 1 C-section rule. Some will follow the ACOG guidelines
and have circumcision?
C-section.
Oh, that's circumcision.
Did I say circumcision?
Yeah, I think you did. Like, wait a minute.
Thinking of the circumcision.
Circumstances, I'm almost, you say circumcision or circumcision? Let's talk about circumcision. We're going to get some
another one. So if you've had 1 circumcision, then you're not eligible. If you've had
you're definitely not. If you had a circumcision, you're not eligible, because you don't even have a uterus.
Because you
got a penis. No, I'm talking about regular.
True. This is true.
All right, we're getting into a whole other thing, and here is how we get a little crazy.
This is how we get in trouble. So 2 C-sections. So if you've had 2 C-sections, there are some very small groups of good candidates. Maybe they've had 5 other vaginal deliveries, and then they end up doing a C-section because they had a breech baby, and then they had a doctor that didn't do VBACs, and so the next baby was also a C-section. I don't know, in my books, I would feel comfortable with a trial of labor with that patient, as long as she understands that potential increased risk of that decreased scar tissue integrity. And hands down, 3 or more C-sections, this is not a good idea. I know that there are providers out there and there are folks out there willing to take that chance. But there's also
you do so many things like that other doctors won't do often.
But the risk is way too high, and the risk is not just too high for baby with the potential need for an emergency C-section that puts that baby at risk, but the potential of a uterine scar dehiscence of that incision on the uterus opening up is way too high. That's not a chance.
It can be scary. That's scary.
Right. I mean, you could blindfold yourself and walk across a road, and you're probably not going to be hit by a car, but you could be. And the chance is going to be a lot higher if it's during rush hour. So I'm pretty strong about that point. So mom's got to be a good candidate. Baby's got to be a good candidate. Your physician and your hospital have to be good fits for that as well.
For sure.
So those would be reasons why you may not be a good candidate. And then there's some reasons that are a little bit more amorphous. Let's say you've only had 1 other pregnancy. Mm-hmm. That pregnancy ended up in a C-section because you labored and labored and labored and labored, and baby never came down in the pelvis. That's highly suspicious for a baby that wasn't fitting down in the pelvis because of maybe a pelvic architecture issue.
Yes, and that pelvic architecture can cause prodromal labor as well.
Yes, it can.
Okay, so
yes, it can.
So it all
ties in, right?
Yes.
It all comes back around. So if the last C-section was done because your labor got stuck, especially if it was later on in the labor process, like you got stuck at 8 centimeters, 9 centimeters, you got stuck while pushing, you pushed for 4 hours, and the baby never came down past 0 station.
With your partner,
right.
With your partner, and we pushed for 3.5 hours, and mom was just...
And if you're making progress, that's okay, but if you're not making progress, that's a sign that there's a lock and key problem.
That was
with the
6 in
lock
the
of
morning
care.
after starting at 6 p.m.
Oh man, that's long.
It's a long one.
That is a long one. So that's not an absolute contraindication to a vaginal birth, but that does make you a poor candidate for child labor. Because whatever it was that caused that last baby to get hung up is likely still going to cause this next baby to get hung up as well. So
Yep.
again, not an absolute contraindication, but a suspicion that this may not go the way that we want.
It may be anatomical.
Do we really want to put all of our eggs in one basket?
And you said eggs in a basket. We're talking about uteruses, and I love that. That's funny. But I want you guys to check this out. I don't want you to ever think that what we're saying here about the uterine, architecture and what have you, and these different things that can cause a problem, make you any less of a woman or of a mom
Not
or
at
of someone
all.
to birth. Because as I always talk about ecological systems, and I think it's really important people understand there's a carrying capacity each one, and every species goes like this, and they will not overpopulate. They will die unless something else is affecting them to overpopulate, or unless you're human and we don't do this. We do this because we're able to get this. And half my daughters probably shouldn't have been here. But Eva and Daisy should not have made it because they were both sick. They both, we had Eva early. It was an emergency C-section. She ended up in the NICU. Daisy was in the NICU too. Same thing. So, most likely they wouldn't have been here, and I'm glad they are, even though my one daughter is a teenager now. Whew. Okay, so anyway, well, that's a whole other thing. That's prodromal parenting is what it feels like. No, I'm just kidding. All right, so you guys, so VBACs, that's pretty important. I want to say hi to Mike and Shar. Thank you guys for watching, and we love having you watch too, and we miss you too.
Just come back to San Antonio.
I know,
I
you're
know
in
Denver's
Colorado
awesome,
or Denver.
but
Yeah.
Yes.
Very great. And then Ashley Gonzalez, hey Brian, it's been a while. Hopefully you can come by the office soon. Okay, well let me know what office you're in because you jumped offices. I'll talk to you guys soon. Okay, who else? Let's see. Hi, Brian from Ashley. We got Chicago in the house. Crystal's here. Sarah Day from No Mo Nausea, one of my favorite products. And then let's see here. We got a lot of people here. You guys, thank you for joining us. We're really happy. Anybody have any questions? And like we said before, if you want to win a Greenville, South Carolina, very nice. If you guys want to win, put your email address in there. If you are local, let us know you're in San Antonio as well, because we have certain local giveaways we're doing as well, on top of giving away a lactolite, and Ben, maybe 2 or 3 Magic Merlin sleep suits. We'll see what you guys get.
And yoga classes.
And yoga classes for local.
Yep, prenatal yoga.
And if you're local, you can even come and hang out with me and have coffee. No, I'm just kidding. That's not a very good prize, huh? All right. But anyway.
Not have coffee.
I have to pay Kelly to come and have coffee with me. You guys, so that is kind of our VBAC spiel here for the time that we have.